Professor Raskin.
Mr. Chairman, thanks so much for this excellent hearing. Mr. Maxwell, the administration itself recently observed that high levels of market concentration in the meat processing industry is a textbook example of how diminished competition hurts consumers who pay more, farmers and workers who are paid less, and the economy more broadly. Can you explain the role that meat processors play in the supply chain today? And do you agree with the White House analysis that the high level of concentration in meat processing is a problem for Americans generally?
Meat packers are for the producer and for access for choice to the consumer are the bottleneck within the supply chain. The number of processors, meat packers or poultry processors is extremely limited today to 4 dominant firms. Therefore, they control the market at their processing plant. We agree with the assessment, as we stated in our opening statement, that market power, the concentration of the dominant firms, has to be part of the analysis as it relates to inflation and the increased spike in cost that we're facing today during this pandemic. We believe that there are other factors, which are some supply chain disruptions and that have increased costs, but many of those supply chain disruptions are within that vertically integrated supply chain that's within the control of that packer as it relates specifically to beef.
Well, some people seem to want to be blaming antitrust laws for inflation. In 2021, Pilgrim's Pride, which is one of the big producers of broiler chicken, pleaded guilty to charges that it criminally conspired to fix prices and rig bids for broiler chicken products. In 2019, DOJ intervened in a civil lawsuit alleging that Tyson Food and Pilgrim's Pride conspired together to fix chicken prices. Do you agree that aggressive enforcement of antitrust laws, or what we're proposing, which is strengthening of the antitrust laws, leads to inflation, or do you think it will help us to restrain inflation?
I believe that it will help restrain price gouging by dominant firms within a marketplace. You have mentioned the litigation that's gone on. Oddly enough, Kroger, which has been mentioned here during this testimony, was one of the plaintiffs that brought a collusion case against the big poultry processors. So even the big is admitting there's problems within the system. Congress needs to act.
Thank you. Ms. McClendon, the poultry industry is a highly concentrated and dominated industry by just a handful of large companies. Your farm was directly injured by Cargill's 2021 acquisition of Sanderson Farms. Can you explain to us what the impact of that acquisition and merger was on your business?
Well, there's a couple of impacts. One, of course, the pay decrease that we're getting is going to reduce my pay by 1/3, which is a tremendous amount on all poultry farmers. Our prices too continue to rise. The price of gas, the price of electricity, the price of supplies like fan motors and feed motors, and all of those costs are rising for us. So to introduce a pay cut is extremely detrimental to us as farmers. Also, again, I just believe that as we continue to consolidate into big three, that we run into the issues that have been discussed here today, which is the price fixing issues. These large corporations have a lot of power. I'm for capitalism, and in capitalism, you need competition. And we just don't have that in the poultry industry today.
Well, can I ask you, why are people paying more for chicken when they go buy it at the store, but you as a farmer are getting paid less?
Because the model is set up so that Sanderson Farms and Cargill, Continental Grain can all achieve the highest profit that they can get. So they're maximizing their profits while we as farmers are basically tenant farmers. At times, that's what I feel like. It's like the big man's in charge and the little guys getting shoved out and will never make what they need to make to even survive.
Well, thank you for your excellent testimony, Mr. Chairman. Ms. McClennan's story is the story of countless farmers and workers across the country, and we need to get back to being in the business as government of aggressive antitrust enforcement so we can achieve what Ms. McClennan's talking about, which is real market competition, which benefits everybody as opposed to monopoly. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Thank you, Professor Raskin. I now recognize